I see a little ghost.
You see him?
Yeah, he's cute.
It can go here. It can go here.
Can you put it right over my face?
Absolutely not.
I'm just wondering the
I
versatility.
like him up there.
Yeah, he looks better there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we have a ghost.
Cute.
Isn't he beautiful?
He is beautiful. I think eventually we should poll the listeners or the people of Instagram or social media to come up with a name for our ghost.
His name is Boo.
Well, okay. His name is Boo. I guess we won't engage and ask people to give us their opinion or.
I've already called him Boo and Ghosty.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose. It's like naming a cat Kitty.
Who would do
Who would
that?
do such a thing?
Not me.
No.
Okay, how's my sound, by the way?
Sound good? The dulcet tones of your voice.
Dulcet. Is that a good word to describe?
Yeah, it's like a sweet word, isn't it? I'll look it up right now. Dulcet. Okay. Sweet and soothing.
Oh, because to me it sounds like dulcet would be like boring and low.
No, that would be monotone.
It could also be dulcet.
Can't, though, because dulcet...
I know.
It's
Anyway.
because of the dull that you're... Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a few things. Number one, my back hurts so much.
Oh, God. Why?
Do you want to know why? Because I have lumbar lordosis, which is...
I always learn something new. Okay, go ahead. Lumbar lordosis.
It's just like... It's like where your ass sticks out and your lower back goes in.
Right. You said that Franny also has this.
Yeah, it's really cute on her, I'll tell you. Yeah, okay, so lumbar lordosis. And I've been trying to correct it by like basically sucking in while I'm walking around my house to strengthen that and correct it, because I also look like 9 months pregnant because my belly's poking out.
And that's an exercise that doctors have told you to do, or that's just something you think will help?
You know what? Fuck doctors. I'm on Reddit trying to solve my problems every day. Yeah. And it hurts.
Yeah, I bet.
It hurts.
Because your spine is doing something unnatural.
Yeah, and I've also been trying to like walk. So I learned about my steps.
Ah, okay.
And I've not been doing very many, so I like have been trying to do steps and my whole body hurts. Like, what the fuck? I'm just walking.
Well, your body's not used to it, I guess. It's not used to walking. I don't know if the listeners wouldn't know this, but took a tumble down my front steps beginning of August and really badly injured myself. I sprained my left ankle pretty badly. Anyways, so I've got mobility and everything, but I've been going to the physiotherapist, and similar to you, he's given me exercise. He's great. And I was really diligent at first, but then it just kind of falls off. And I wake up every day and my ankle is sore.
It's only when like things are really fucking falling apart where I'm like, oh, I should do my exercises.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's just like I'm at Carly's parents' house still. Hopefully we'll be able to move in back into our place for a bit by the end of the week. But I don't know. I'm out of my environment, and I don't want to do silly little exercises which require me hanging off of the kitchen sink. I'm sure you can understand that. Also, just back to you, it's not all about me. Have you tried a chiropractor?
I will not. I'm sorry to all the chiropractors. I'm just not going to do that.
I had a great experience with the chiropractor, but
I have a lot of anxiety about chiropractors, and they're probably unfounded. My physio lady, man, she is a gift from God, but also I just don't do my exercises. So like, she's just healing me every time I go in.
Well, it's not
and I'm good for a day.
It's not nothing. Like,
it's not nothing. It's not nothing. I'm going to tell you something also. If I look distracted, it's because
I'm so beautiful.
There's enough. Yeah, I can't. Is she looking at me? There's an Australian Shepherd.
Oh, wait. There always is.
Shoving an elastic band in my lap over and over again. Yep. We call it Noodles.
The elastic band, or have you changed her name?
The elastic band.
Noodles, yeah.
It is very wet. We call it her Luna fettuccine. Because one time it broke and it looked like a little piece of fettuccine. Anyway, it's very wet.
It's probably driving her nuts right now that you're playing with it right in front of her.
You should see her. She's like...
I kicked every single dog out of the office. I had
all of
them. There's 4 of them here. You will hear them barking at some point because Carly and her mom are away, but they'll be back probably while we're recording, and then they're just gonna lose it, and hopefully it doesn't pick up too much. But
if it does, we'll just pause and we'll say, "Gotta pause for the pause."
Pause for the pause. Pause for the pause. Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Cute.
This is some wholesome content. I consent to this wholesome content.
Oh, yeah, it's good coffee.
Yep.
Who's going to do the intro? Because I don't have it up and I don't want to do it, but I could.
I would argue that it's definitely your turn, but just because I'm the one, usually we trade off, right? If you're leading the charge, usually you're gonna read, or I'm gonna read the intro, and if I'm leading the charge, vice versa. But that's fine because I'm already going in and pulling it up. So don't even worry about it.
I can read it. I can read it. Here we go.
Oh, I have it.
I found it I went to Apple Podcasts and I'm reading it off of our last transcript.
Oh, okay.
We should probably just do a record of it, and then I could just insert it into the beginning.
Well, are we gonna trade off? Because both of our voices should be on there.
Yeah, I could do that too. Yeah. We could do 2 of them. Okay. Welcome to Ghosts, I guess, where 2 Canadian ladies get together to talk about weird supernatural shit that doesn't seem to have a place in normal conversation. Did you hear Luna howling?
That sounds like a ghost.
We talk about our own experiences, invite other guests to share theirs, and at the end of every episode, we will discuss how much our conversation and stories convinced us, or didn't, to believe in the paranormal. So do we believe in ghosts? It's hard to say, but please join us as we talk about it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it.
You did a great job.
Thanks. We're coming up close to our time of the year. Halloween.
The spookiest time of the year.
So is that what we have today? A special...
What a dud of an intro. What a limp intro. Yeah. I mean, I teased it for the people that listened to our last Bic episode, which I thought was really awesome. Learned a lot of things. So yeah, we're gonna do a specially Halloween themed podcast episode, and we're gonna talk about...
I'm so fucking excited.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the history of Halloween, and it's pretty interesting stuff. What I've learned is that my people are responsible for it.
Who are your people?
Well,
the Irish.
I'm English, Irish, and Scottish, and it is Irish, but it's still my people. Just saying.
Have you done a 23andMe?
I haven't. I have mixed feelings about that. I'm curious and I want
totally
to.
Get it.
And then part of me is like, I don't want to give my biological makeup to a big company. I'm probably signing off on things that I don't even know I'm signing. Not that I'm planning on committing a crime, but people, they just run traces and searches based on, that DNA information that we're just willingly giving away. I just have conflicted feelings about it.
I feel you, and in a world where I feel like I had any control over my own privacy whatsoever, I would do the same, but at a certain point, I was just like, I have no privacy anymore.
Yeah.
There's no privacy anymore. It's gone. So tell me who my ancestors are.
Fair. I mean, fair.
And I'm a Neanderthal, and I'm Irish, and I had no friggin' idea.
Oh, it kind of makes sense though, right? Because
yeah, because of the
Newfie. Yeah.
Huh. I'm a lot Irish.
Nice. So it's your people as well that we have to thank.
We are the same, you and I.
I've always said that. So I'm going to start with
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I, before we get into the ghosty, can I tell you about a Reddit story that I read?
Sure. Hope it's not one of the Reddit stories I'm going to read.
No, it's not, because it was related to.
Oh no.
It was related to sleep paralysis.
Okay.
And we did an episode on sleep
surely
paralysis. And I was reading it, and I was just, and it was after I learned more from that Bix article, which, by the way, like, this Bix stuff has changed my life.
Yeah. It was a big deal.
It has reframed how I see everything. Like, I'm just seeing things in a new light. My skeptic in me is very close to zero these days. Which is like,
that's a big deal.
This is compelling, right? But it has like changed my life going into it, and I can't wait to read more. There they are.
Dogs.
There they are.
For 6. Anyways, it's the blessing of being a dog owner.
The gift.
Yeah.
You've got the gift.
Carly and I call it the gift something different, but
okay, so it was basically after, our sleep paralysis episode, and then this Bix thing about consciousness, which also tied into like sleeping and how like you're downloading from the eye consciousness or whatever. And I was reading this, and I'm reading a lot of paranormal stories on Reddit lately. This one super stuck out, so I wanted to read it to you. It was by user inspired_22. And here's what he had to say. This has been on my mind since it happened, and I don't know what to think. I'm not saying it was definitely paranormal. Part of me is skeptical, and the other part feels like it could have been. This post is simply to share my experience, nothing more. So, around 2 months ago, I had a long day looking after my newly born daughter, 6 months at the time. Since she just started teething, poor thing. We've had many sleepless nights or nights with broken sleep, so I was pretty exhausted, and because of that, I was second-guessing if I was doing things right and convinced myself I was just doing a horrible job at being a father. That is so sad.
That's so sad.
We've all been there. At night, I was trying to get to sleep after finally soothing our daughter to sleep, and that's when it happened. As I was trying to get to sleep, I started feeling this deep vibrating/humming in my body, which kept getting more intense to the point I felt like every inch of me was a subwoofer. I could not only feel vibrating through my body like it was coming from my bones, I was actually starting to hear it with my ears. At this point, I had this really uncomfortable feeling like something was trying to force its way into my head, which I was obviously trying to resist. I really don't know how to describe it, other than someone completely separate from myself was trying to hack my brain. After 5 seconds or so, maybe longer, but it didn't feel that long, half of this disappeared. After 5 seconds or so, maybe longer, but it didn't feel that long, a dam had broken and whatever was trying to get in flooded in like water. Whatever. Quickly, the vibrations felt like hurricane force wind, and I started to hear high-pitched gibberish sailing around my head like a boat stuck in a whirlpool. I quickly identified it as a voice, unnaturally high-pitched and speaking a language I didn't understand. Freaky, right? Until it said one final sentence in clear English. You're doing a good job.
Yeah.
I went from feeling scared that something bad was happening to me to an overwhelming sense of calmness, reassurance, relief, etc. After I heard those words, everything that was happening suddenly stopped, and I was myself again, alone in my head and in control. So he basically said, I've had sleep paralysis before, but nothing like that. It was surreal. Usually when I have sleep paralysis, it happens after I fall asleep and wake up during, but this time it all happened as soon as I started trying to sleep. I've also never heard voices, and it's usually always a negative experience, like seeing demons or monsters, rather than this positive one. Part of me thinks it was just a really weird sleep paralysis episode. The other half of me feels like it was something more. Due to what was said, the timing of said message, and how intense it all felt. Like that. I get it. He's putting it together. I can't convince myself it was paranormal, but I can't convince myself it wasn't either. Such a strange but wonderful experience that certainly gets me thinking of the paranormal. Also, another strange thing is the message has actually reassured me that I'm doing just fine as a new father. So if it was a message, it was exactly what I needed to hear and at the right time. Maybe it was my subconscious reassuring myself. I guess I'll never find out if it truly was a message until I leave this world.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it was a message.
Yeah, that was my first thought was, could it be higher self kind of chiming in? And that higher self could be connected to the, what's it called? Something.
Akashic record. I call it the eye consciousness.
I like Akashic record better. Eye consciousness makes me think of Apple.
Yeah, iCloud. People get it.
Yeah. But yeah, like that could be, that higher self could be more connected to that. Okay, I'll say eye consciousness. And looking down on, your day-to-day consciousness, and then, when you're self-doubting, it's just like, hey, you are calm enough and open enough right before sleep that I can kind of come in and tell you what you need to hear.
And it also reminded me of that radio analogy, like it was a broken station coming through, like a high-pitched voice. And then finally what broke through was, his message. But I would have read that differently with a different view before I had the information that I gleaned from that big essay, for sure.
Wow. Well, we're making a believer out of you.
A believer. Can I pause just for a moment to tell my dog to leave me the fuck alone?
Absolutely.
I'm back, and her heart is broken because I told her all done.
I mean, that's the like kiss of death for Luna.
I know. Like, this is what she lives for. Yeah. Luna Fettuccine.
This is what dreams are made of. Okay. Sharp pivot to the left.
I can't wait. I'm ready to curl up, to get cozy. I've got a heated blanket.
Cute.
And I'm ready to celebrate Halloween by learning about this. This is just like, the timing is freaking phenomenal. Let me turn my heated blanket up. Boop, boop, boop.
I have a nice little heater in here, but if I turn it on, you will be so upset. It's so noisy. So,
do you have a heated blanket?
No, I don't. I have a heating pad.
If I see one at Costco, because this was on sale, you're getting it.
Okay, how much is it?
Like $30.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay, yeah.
It was on clearance. Happy birthday.
Our birthdays are so close.
I know.
Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start it off with an Irish story, an Irish spooky story, and then we'll get into sort of the origins of Halloween. It's going to be very Irish mythology, Irish spooky stories focused. And you'll sort of see why as we go along. So this is it's called The Haunting of Coneen, and
how do you spell that?
Cooneen.
Cooneen.
That's right.
Coneen.
Yeah.
I love it.
And this is from directly off of a website. I just thought it was a really good story, and that website is called Emerald Isle. Yeah, if you were to do a search for The Haunting of Coneen and Emerald Isle, you'll be able to see this story yourself. So here we go. So here we go. The old house in Coneen is much spoken of even today. Its dark legend stretching back from the mists of time. Some say it is a ghost living there. Others say a devil. But rumors go back further into the darkness of elder years to the old gods of Ireland and the dark rites that were celebrated in their name. The house in Coneen first entered the modern storybook of haunted houses back in the 1910s, when a family going by the name Murphy lived there. Mrs. Murphy's husband died in a freak accident, and it was after that the trouble began. It started out with knocking at the front door, but when it was answered, nobody stood there. Then they heard heavy footsteps pacing the hayloft that had only one way in, but nobody could be found above. Now it's easy in these circumstances to suspect your own wits had deserted you, so Mrs. Murphy got the neighbors in to have a listen. And sure enough, they also heard the windows being rattled and the doors being banged, as though something was demanding entrance. Then things took a turn for the worse. Plates started to fly off the table, and beds would lift and fall by themselves. Whatever wanted to get in was in. In desperation, Mrs. Murphy turned to the church for help, and Father Coyle from Mag's Bridge came to visit their house. I think it's Maguire's Bridge. He stood there with his mouth hanging open alongside Member of Parliament, I don't know how to say that name, watching his pots and pans bang themselves together and uncanny shapes flickered across the walls.
Member of Parliament?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was also covered in the newspapers of the time.
Get out. Pause. I missed what time period this was.
Let's just see if it says here. Does not say. I would have to do a separate Google search to find that out. I think it would have been before the potato famine and everyone coming over. So that would have been some time ago, and we will cover a little bit of potato famine when I kind of get into the history of things. After this, the priest... Oh, wait, I messed up now. Right, I'm just going to redo this paragraph.
Yeah, sure.
In desperation, Mrs. Murphy turned to the church for help, and Father Coyle from Maguire's Bridge came to visit their house. He stood there with his mouth hanging open alongside a member of Parliament, watching his pots and pans bang themselves together and uncanny shapes flickered across the walls. It was also covered in the newspapers of the time. After this, the priest was granted permission to do not one, but 2 exorcisms, one of the very few ever held in Ireland, to no avail, even though the sheets lifted off the bed and loud groans and moans echoed around the place. Rumors started to spread then that perhaps the Murphy family were authors of their misfortunes, that they had tracked in the black arts, and that their son had found a fell book in the dark and moldy woods and used it to summon demons for his own benefit. Well, that, as you can imagine, was the end of the road for the Murphys, and they packed their bags and set off for America, just as many Irish did at the time. It might have been the end of the road as far as Coneen went, but it wasn't the end of their troubles, for the phantasm followed them across the ocean. Documents of the voyage make clear note of the fact that there were often loud banging and moaning noises coming from the Murphys' cabin, and it got so bad that the captain himself had to have a word with them, although it didn't help much. The rapping and banging kept other passengers awake, and some say one young lad was so sleepy after the voyage that he was run down in the streets of New York. How to sleep, anyways. After they reached dry land, the supernatural activities continued for some time, gradually abating until at last they were left in peace, although their daughter was so traumatized that she spent the rest of her life in a mental asylum. What? That's what it says. Coneen House has since attracted many visitors and curious sightseers, but the advice is to stay well clear of it. Eerie, flickering witch lights, whatever that is, are said to move inside and outside of the house. The forest about grows in an unnatural way. Back in the 1960s, a troop of 5 strapping young men in a passing show band were sent running from the premises as fast as their legs could carry them. And they won't speak of what happened either. There's talk of difficulty breathing and inexplicable accidents happening, as well as sightings of old men and women who vanish when you turn your back. Walk the length and breadth of Ireland, but stay not a night in Coneen House. That's the end of it.
I'll be going. So let's go to the homeland.
Yes, absolutely. I really, really want to, like, since doing this, I've been like all about, oh, there's an important text. Selling our house, the text was that Precious pooped. And he was,
Oh, good.
Yeah. But yeah, no, since doing all this research, I really, really, like, I'm getting really, like, an anchoring, a call, a desire, a yearning to go to Ireland. I've only been once, and I went just only to Dublin, and I'd like to go.
A pang.
A pang.
Pang.
That's a good one.
A pang for the paranormal.
A pang. So there's lots of cool things that we could do if we did. We could be, we could do a podcast, like, on site.
If someone wants to pay for that trip,
Yeah, that'd be great. If we had, like, a rich
I'll go and I'll do it.
benefactor who wanted nothing in return other than more content of ghosts, I guess, to listen to.
We won't be flashing boobies.
No.
Those days are over.
I never flash my boobs. It's not my style. Okay, so that was just to kind of get us in the mood. So I'm going to give the sort of brief history overview, and then I'm going to actually give the information that's interesting. So in my opinion, anything that had to do with the Christians, well relevant to the history, is not interesting. So we're not really going to go, like, other than just the sort of, like, bird's eye view. We're not going to get into Christian stuff, but we are going to get into the traditional Irish stuff, which is really cool. So
I've had enough of the Christian stuff, so
I had a lifetime of it.
Yeah.
So tradition of Halloween originated in Ireland, as we said, and that would have been around 2,000 years ago. And that was with an ancient Celtic pagan festival of Samhain, which is a Gaelic word.
So you're telling me it wasn't invented by the candy company?
Not at all. They certainly prospered from it. They certainly took advantage of it. But no, it comes from the Celtic pagan festival Samhain, which is not spelled like Samhain. It's spelled Samhain, Samhain, but it's Samhain. And so
I always say Samhain.
Yeah, you think you would, but it's Samhain. I like Samhain. I think it sounds great.
I've just been sounding like a moron my entire life.
Well, you don't know Gaelic, so that's okay. You know?
I should. Apparently it's my language. Anyway.
And also that leads very organically, just sort of right out of the gate, just to clear something up. Even though we go on and on about Ireland being the home country and our people, I was not educated on the difference between Celtic and Gaelic. And those words are used kind of throughout this episode. So I wanted to make sure that I had, a differentiation, and so you know what the difference is. So Celtic language encompasses a wide range of languages and cultures, which it could also include, like, Scots, some in other parts of Europe. Well, Gaelic focuses specifically on the Gaelic-speaking communities within the Celtic world. If that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
So I'm going to get into the very cool details of Samhain following this brief history overview. So they have their amazing celebration, and they're doing it for a long time. And then in the 8th century, in a likely attempt to distract them from their pagan practices, the Pope at the time established All Hallows Day on November 1st. It's the day after Halloween. And that was a day meant to honor all saints, whether known or unknown. And so,
huge.
Yeah. So the Europeans accepted this. They're like, whatever, fine, okay. All Hallows Day, don't care. But they saw no reason not to continue enjoying their traditional rituals as well. So they kept doing their Samhain, but very shortly following sort of that establishment of All Hallows Day by the Pope at the time, Samhain became known as All Hallows Eve, because it was the day before All Hallows Day.
The Eve.
Yeah.
Cool.
So from there, didn't take very much time to become the name that we all know and love, which is Halloween. So
Halloweener.
That's right. So as we know, Europeans came to America. Everyone knows that. America's first Puritans, and so that would have been the early 17th century, were not at all interested in such a heathen tradition. Why? Because they boring.
They so boring.
Yeah.
They don't like anything cool.
They're afraid of something that is subversive and cool. So as a result, the traditions of Samhain, All Hallows Eve, Halloween, however you want to call it, like Europe, were left behind, and for quite a while.
How long?
Well, I'm going to get into that right now.
Okay.
That was until the potato famine, which was the mid-19th century. So America's first Puritans, early 17th century, potato famine, 19th century. Which drove over 1 million starving Irish, as well as their traditions and folklore, into America's port cities. Probably one of those port cities, if we're saying North America and not just like the USA, those port cities was probably, what do you think it would be?
Newfoundland. Hello. Oh, hello. That's my people.
I didn't check that, but when we were talking about Newfoundland, I was like, oh, that's probably where I went.
It's probably where they went.
So, well, one of the places. And so sort of away from home and immersed in a cultural melting pot, the traditions that they had established through Samhain began to change. And I'll provide more details as I explain Samhain. Okay? That's the history. Any questions before we get going into the stuff that's actually really interesting?
No. I've already learned so much.
Amazing. So back to Samhain. So as I said, it's a pagan religious festival, and it's pre-Christian. And it originated from an ancient Celtic spiritual tradition. As I mentioned, it was celebrated in Celtic Ireland around 2,000 years ago, and it was to mark the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter, or the darker half of the year. And that was taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. It is a spiritual new year for Druids, which are like the Irish priests, and the pagans.
Okay.
And Druids are not, when I say priests, I use that word like just sort of interchangeably to kind of distinguish between them and just like the townspeople, I guess, which were pagans. Druids are not connected, at least I don't know the history of them, but this is pre-Christian, so this is not connected to like a Christian priest. It's like their religious people, essentially the Druids, and then the pagans, if that makes sense. So it was a time for reflecting on what has been, envisioning what would be, and also a time to remember the ancestors. So the name Samhain is a Celtic word, and it's translated to summer's end. Yeah, and fun fact, I thought this was neat, Samhain is also the Irish language name for November, which makes sense, because
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So celebrations began at dusk, the evening of the 31st of October, or as what we know as Halloween, since the Celtic day began and ended at sunset. And the celebration lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. And during Samhain, families would leave the hearth fires in their homes to burn out while that last harvest was gathered.
Okay.
So celebrants believe that Samhain was the only time all year where the season of life met the season of death.
Oh, that's so friggin' cool.
Yeah, this is where it gets real cool. So essentially,
I like this.
The barriers between the physical world and the spirit world would break down, or were the thinnest. And so that allowed interaction between humans and occupants of the other world.
Cool.
This is when malevolent spirits could rise from the grave and walk amongst the living. Essentially, during Samhain, the Celts believed the ghosts of the dead returned to the earth. So it's pretty fucking cool.
Is it just malevolent spirits or just like all spirits?
Thank you for asking. I have so much to tell you about the spirits.
Okay.
Hang tight. So, I guess this would be the more not good spirits. In addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids, or in this case the Celtic priests, to make predictions about the future, which also were inclusive of foretelling whether their villages were going to survive winter. So there's a lot of in addition to just like this belief of the dead walking the earth, it just like allowed the priests access to come back with predictions and sort of, could be good news, could be bad news, essentially. That was the idea. So, to commemorate the event, they built huge sacred bonfires, and the people gathered and burned crops and did animal sacrifices to the Celtic deities. The bonfire was lit using a wheel that would cause friction and spark flames. The wheel was considered to be a representation of the sun, and it was used along with prayers. And during the celebration, the Celts wore costumes to repel and confuse the spirits. Typically, this is creepy but cool, typically those costumes consisted of animal heads and skins.
Gross.
Yeah.
But that is so cool.
Yeah, it's just...
But also very gross.
I can't think of something more repelling, and that's what they were trying to do.
It's working on me.
They also attempted to tell each other's fortunes. I don't know how they were, unless they were like teaming up with the druids. I don't really know how they were doing that, but it might just have been all in good fun. Who's to say?
They just fucking around.
So
they don't have like Netflix, so you gotta do something.
It's gotta be something.
Yeah.
So when the celebration was over, the community would relight their hearth fires that they had let extinguish kind of earlier in when they were doing the last harvest, and they would relight it from the sacred bonfire, which was, the thought was to help protect them during the coming winter.
So they would take that fire from that circle thing and then like, cool.
And of course whoa, everything okay there? Someone fall down?
It's just a ghost, I guess.
That's the name of this podcast. Okay. So, whoa. So like the idea being that they're having this celebration, this, thing around the bonfire. They're making their sacrifices, they're connecting, getting the druids to, make predictions, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the whole thing is like, it's like basically like a soup that they're just stirring up, and then the soup is ready so that they can take that fire and go put it in their hearth fires, and they're like, we're good. We did what we were supposed to do. We did our sacrifices. We scared away bad ghosts. We should be fine.
We made it.
Looks like we... Okay, anyways.
We made it.
Gotta be careful.
Oh, whoa.
That was...
People are gonna be like, she sounds too much like Shania Twain.
Canadian artist. Well-loved Shania Twain. Okay. So, this is kind of coming back to how I said, when the Irish came back, or not back, when they came to America during the potato famine, they still had some of their traditions, but they kind of changed because they were in a different place. They were away from the homeland, a melting pot of other traditions. So this is where I'm going to touch on what kind of changed. So when the traditions came from Ireland to America, the roaring bonfires shrank to lanterns carved from gourds, and that was the first jack-o'-lanterns. So that's where that comes from.
My God, this is so cute.
The Celts' demonic disguises, obviously, are the costumes of modern-day Halloween. And origins of trick-or-treat, not exactly clear. There's two different things that I could find. One, it's believed to start from a custom called souling, and that's where poorer people would visit the houses of wealthier families, and they would receive cakes called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives.
Okay.
And then the practice was later taken up by children. They'd go from door to door asking for gifts such as food or money or ale. I don't know why children drink ale, but anyways. See, it was a different time.
Different time. Don't call CPS. Different time.
I did see another origin story saying that Samhain, another origin story saying during Samhain, there was a tradition of guising, which was going house to house at Halloween and putting on a small performance to be rewarded with food or treats. So it could be one of those two things. It could be both. Coming from the custom of souling, the poor are going to the wealthy asking for these pastries, or it could be part of the Samhain traditions, where they're going house to house and they're kind of putting on little performances, and then they're getting some food and treats for doing it, which sounds pretty awesome.
Sign me up.
I wish that when I'm out there handing out candies, kids are coming up, all different ages, with their parents, why am I not getting a small performance? Why am I just giving away treats?
You're getting a small performance. A little tiny wee one walks up to the door and goes, "Twick or tweet,"
Yeah.
and that's a performance.
It's adorable. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But
now I'm starting to think maybe Franny's Little Mermaid costume isn't creepy enough, and I should be draping her in animal skin.
you know that big like mask that they used to wear, the plague masks with the big
Yes, I knew exactly. Yes.
That's what you should get her.
I should do that.
You should have her,
But then
have her like mermaid underneath, but have the plague death mask on top. People be really confused.
But then you wouldn't be able to see her sweet little face.
Yeah. It's a
And
trade
that's what
off.
it's all about.
It's like,
That's what it's all about.
do you really want to creep people out, or do you want people to think that Franny's cute? That's what you have to choose.
They're going to know.
Yeah. I mean, she's adorable. Even just the way she walks is adorable. She's got her belly stuck out and her back's all weird.
Her lumbar lordosis.
That was a throwback. Okay, so apparently too, this is crazy, but Samhain was mandatory. Like, the community had to participate. They had to show themselves to the local kings or chieftains. And if people were like, I'm not going to do that, that was actually believed to result in punishment from the gods, which could be illness or death. So it was like, you better participate or you'll die. The gods will see to it.
So no turning off your lights, closing your door,
No.
not putting candy out. Like, you're going to die.
Yeah. So just
We're going to punish you with eggs.
keep that in mind.
We still do that today.
Yeah.
I don't, but teenagers do.
People that turn off the lights and don't give out candy to children probably should die.
That's awful. Just John's mom doesn't. John's mom, just to keep John's mom. The other day she was just like, I hate Halloween. I'm going to turn off my lights. And I'm like, oh.
Back in Samhain days, she would not have survived. I hate to say it.
I better tell her. I better warn her. I'm just, you know what? I'm just going to put some candy outside her door, and it's up to her if she wants to open it or not.
There we go. That'll cover it up.
Yeah, we need to protect her.
So because the Celts believed, as we discussed, where the veil between the realms of the living and the realms of the dead were thinnest during Samhain, across the 3 days and 3 nights, the world of the supernatural was more visible than at any other time period, or at least they believed it was. So fae, spirits, and sprites would be up to tricks and trouble.
Cute.
Yeah, spirits, well, sometimes cute, sometimes not so much. Spirits and the ghosts of the dead were also thought to roam the earth. Crops and animals were sacrificed, offerings left outside villages, and then, again, huge protective bonfires built and burnt in an attempt to appease the deities and these mischievous spirits during that time. But there was also ancestors being honored, welcomed into the home. They would prepare food and offerings. And essentially any spirits that were regarded as harmful or malevolent were warded away. People, as I said, would wear the costumes and masks to disguise themselves. So any spirits with the harmful intentions would not bother them. Okay, so now that's sort of the history there. That's kind of the information on Samhain. And I'm going to kind of give a little bit of information on Irish supernatural beings. But do you have any questions at this time, Kim?
No, I'm just so excited.
Yeah, isn't it cool?
This all makes so much sense now.
Yeah.
Like, it actually has way more meaning. And now on Halloween, I want to light my fire. Come on, baby, light my fire.
You should light your
Something
fire
wrong with us.
And maybe the mischievous ghost that lives in your house. Well, we don't know. Are they malevolent? Are they benevolent?
No, they're good.
Oh, well, there you go.
They're
They'll just
good.
come say, hi. Hi, girl. Hi.
Hey, girl, hi. And I'll be like, I'm terrified.
Okay, so brief explanation of Irish supernatural beings. And I'm telling you, it took a while to understand what was what, because there's a lot of them and some of them encompass others and et cetera, et cetera. But it's neat. It's neat from a mythology perspective with the Irish and their rich stories, I guess, or mythological stories. So there is the she, which is pronounced, is pronounced she, but is spelled Sidhs. There is
Shids?
Sid,
S-H-I.
no, Sidhs.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's
She.
pronounced she.
Okay.
Fae and fairies, sprites and
Mhm.
spirits. They were used a
Cute.
lot during my research. So, Irish ghost stories, as I mentioned, deeply intertwined with ancient Irish culture and mythology. Many of the tales go back to the pre-Christian days, but these are still retold in modern day forms. Like, this is something that continues on in the, the stories and mythology of Irish people. So first, spirit encapsulates them all, including spirits of deceased ancestors, which are, those deceased ancestors are kind of separate from all the rest of the stuff I'm going to say. But spirit encapsulates everything I'm about to say, plus spirits of deceased ancestors. Great. So we have fae versus she. So the fae would cover off any supernatural creature or enchanted being. That could be leprechauns. That could be pixies, etc. It's a blanket term for supernatural and magical creatures. That's fae. The she is the Irish word for a type of mound or small hill on a flat ground. And you have some creatures called Coo-she, Hat-she, and of course the infamous Banshee.
Oh, cute.
Mm-hmm.
This is all coming together.
Yep. This means Coo-she is hound of the mound, Hat-she, cat of the mound, and Banshee is woman of the mound. So, she, however, like, it can be those specific creatures that I just explained. It could also refer to a particular type of fairy that's unique to Ireland and Scotland. So, she means people of the mound. But they are not like pixies or Tinkerbell or anything like that. It is believed that they're basically people, which is another race, superior to us in beauty, tall as us with strength and powers of magic beyond our comprehension.
There's no one superior to us in beauty, but continue.
So these supernatural beings, they believe it's believed that they inhabit a parallel universe that coexists with the world of humans. Maybe we connect to them through the, what's it called?
Akashic record.
There you go.
This seems more like quantum entanglement to me, but yeah, continue.
Quantum entanglement. Anyways, according to legend, but this is supposed to be the major, like, long time ancestors of Irish people. So would that not be part of the Akashic record? Who's to say?
Sure.
So according to legend, they walk around among the living. They possess magical powers. The she can be friendly, or, as one Redditor put it, they can make you bleed out of your orifices. So they can be good.
Every 28 days?
They can be bad. They're complicated. As I like to say, they contain multitudes. So these spirits are depicted as both beautiful and dangerous, capable of granting favors or bringing misfortune, depending on how they are treated by humans. They live in another dimension called Ma-mail, and this world is accessible through hawthorn trees, which I think is cute. And fairy forts are essentially rings of trees where the East she inhabit, these people of the mound. So
that is so funny and cute. I have a batch of trees in my backyard that are like planted in a circle. And I did a fairy hunt for Franny's birthday, and I hid the fairies back there.
That's really cute.
So
there might actually be fairies. There might be she back there. We don't know.
That's just me getting information from the she.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Also, everything just falls in place because we talked about doing this, and then, when we're in our home, tradition of mine and Carly's is every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, whatever allows, we will sit and watch several episodes of Zach Bagans' Ghost Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say which one it is. I think it's Ghost Adventures. Anyways, and you and I talked about doing this. Literally the next Saturday or Sunday when we were watching, it was about Ireland and the history of Halloween and the she.
Synchronicity.
It was crazy.
Synchronicities.
Yeah. I was like, that's so weird.
I had a really weird synchronicity moment that blew my fucking brain with like the last episode we did. But I have to mention Zach Bagans. As a quick side note, I watched episode 5 of the Zach Bagans most recent TV show. What is it called?
It's like Most Haunted Places on Earth or something like that.
Yeah, something of the Damned, Destinations of the Damned or something like that. And episode 5 had our good friend of the podcast, Jim Hunt, on.
It's all coming full circle.
It was adorable to watch, adorable. And I reached out and said, sir, you need to come back on the podcast and tell us about your experience with Zach Bagans. Like,
hell, bring Zach Bagans.
Did we not talk about Zach Bagans on the podcast that Jim was on, and we had no idea that they were going to be on a show together?
We did. And I don't think we said nice things, to be honest with you.
No. And I wrote Jim and I was like,
okay, I just want to go on record. Zach provides me a lot of entertainment. Like, we watch those shows, and he's been out there doing his thing, and like, what would I do? Like, I wouldn't have that. And it's really, sparked my interest in like how ghost hunting happens and all that stuff. And I hear about very haunted places, and there was the house, the one batch of, or one season where it was all like going into people's houses to talk to ghosts, which was the best one. So like, I'll give him the fact that he knows what he's doing in order to provide content that I find real interesting and I enjoy watching.
Yeah. And he reaches an audience, which is no small feat. No. So props to Zach.
Yeah, he's doing it. He's crazy, but he's doing it. And we'll just leave it there. Yeah. Okay, so a little bit of interesting information about, I guess, the history of the she. They're often identified as the remnant of the ancient Tuatha Danann, which is the people of Danu. And they are the primary gods of ancient Ireland. So that's what she are considered. And Danu is usually interpreted as mother goddess or the divine maternal figure. And Irish texts themselves do not even give any information about who Danu was. I guess I went too far back. Her name is also just a reconstruction of the Tuatha Danann. Like, they literally just take Danu from there. So there's not a huge amount of information. Now, despite that, historians believe that Danu was a primordial, as in existing at or the beginning of time, water goddess. And she was likely the mother of many of the gods of Ireland. So that's kind of cool. That's it. That's just a little bit of history on the she there. So any questions on that before we go on to other ones?
I'm all good.
So fairies versus fae. So as I kind of said, fae suggests a broad category, could include elves, goblins, other supernatural entities, but fairies are more narrowly defined. They're often depicted in literature and art as diminutive, human-like, with butterfly-like wings. They're cute. They're typically benevolent, and they have magical powers, and they bring good fortune. In cultural depictions, they provide protection and guidance. So the origins of the fae versus the fairies that we're just talking about can be traced back to various mythologies and folklore where they were revered, feared, or worshipped as deities, spirits, or ancestors. Fairies, however, have become especially popular in our Western folklore and were romanticized in Victorian literature and art, and it highlights their playful nature and their interaction with the human world. So that's sort of the difference there. And then the last difference was sprites versus fairies. So fairies, well, human-like, as we covered. Sprites are smaller and more insect-like. They're typically mischievous and tricksters. and they are linked to natural elements. So, for example, water sprites.
Cute.
Their powers allow them elemental control, and they have psionic powers, which is the power to use mental and psychic-based powers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's all of the main creatures, I guess you want to say. A lot of times,
that's a lot of creatures. That is a lot of creatures.
A lot of times they just call them she, even though we just confirm that is its own thing. But anyways, I thought it was important to know sort of all the differences of that. And so that covers off history of Halloween, kind of explains, the Irish celebration of Samhain, kind of goes into the mythology of, Ireland's magical beings that, the idea is that some of these beings that are described could be coming through during Samhain because, on October 31st, the veil is so much thinner. So there's lots of stories like that. And then I do have a couple of spooky ghost stories to cap it off.
Yeah. Can we pause for a pee break?
Of course.
I'm back.
Bum, bum, bum.
Let's continue.
I wanted to just let everyone know that a lot of the information that I took came from history.com. There is
straightforward.
Yep. There is write-ups about it and links to specifically Samhain or specifically the Celts, and then there's a whole little video that goes through stuff. There was another video, unfortunately, and I'm supposed to cite your sources, but I don't have it up anymore. But should I find it, I can put it on or get Kim to put it on our social media. But that was more to do with kind of the mythical creatures and stuff. But yeah, so this too is directly from the 5 spookiest Irish ghost stories to tell this Halloween.
Oh my god.
And it comes from, I have it printed off because not all of it was relevant, but it just says meanwhile in Ireland. But I really truly feel that this is by Katie Morris. Yeah. 5 spooky Irish ghost stories to tell this Halloween. If you did a Google, you'd be able to find it by Katie Morris. So, they're pretty quick, these ones. And then sort of the last one, I'm going to give you a little more information on, but, okay. So number 5.
Oh, we're doing a countdown.
Can I rate
the spookiest?
Yeah.
And then you rate the spookiest, and then we'll confer at the end.
Yeah, I already know what you're going to think is the spookiest, but yes, absolutely.
Okay. You don't know me.
You
know my life.
Know me. Okay, so
You don't know me.
Okay, yeah. All right. The Dullahan, which is Ireland's headless horseman.
Okay.
I don't know if the headless horseman comes from Ireland. I didn't go into that. That might be another episode of the sort of history of our most common spooky creatures. Could be. Who knows? We'll see. But it does say it stemmed from Irish mythology. At least the Dullahan is, which is Ireland's headless horseman. He rides on a black horse through the night while carrying his own head under his arm. Anyone who's seen Sleepy Hollow knows what we're talking about. And those who spotted the Dullahan claim to hear him calling out names in the night, searching for souls to take with him.
Whoa. Rude.
Yeah, it's like leaving my soul alone. And basically, if you hear your name called out by the Dullahan, you're destined for death. But goodbye. Good night, Irene. That's number 5. What do we think about spooky level? I think
I'll comment at the end. At the end.
Sure. Yeah. Number 4. The Ghosts of Leap Castle, which says ghastly creatures stalk the halls. So, Leap Castle, County Offaly, not sure what that means, probably means something to our Irish listeners, is one of the most haunted buildings in Ireland. Once the site of numerous executions, the most terrifying creature that haunts the halls of Leap Castle is a being they call It.
Ew.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't like that either. It is a small creature. It's not the clown from the Stephen King book. It is a small creature around the size of a sheep, terrifying.
What a weird marker.
Described as having a decaying face and an overbearing smell of death. I don't want that sheep anywhere near me. Okay?
They need to call pest control because that's not a ghost. They have a pest
I
problem.
don't know if you call pest control for a sheep.
Well,
Let's not get off track.
they should.
It isn't the only creature to haunt this dilapidated spot, though. Other tenants include the Red Lady, which is a scorned mother who has been seen carrying a dagger menacingly in her hands. Then there's the ghost of Emily.
She just needs sleep.
Yeah. Then there's the ghost of Emily. Emily died in Leap Castle when she was 11 years old after falling from the battlements. Many people have seen her fall from the castle before disappearing before she hits the ground. That's just a handful of the spooky accounts from Leap Castle. That would make me shit out my butt. If I was just visiting and I saw like just a ghost. And I'm like, oh my god, there's oh my god. It'd be much more
complete shit out the butt.
Complete and utter shit out the butt. Okay. Number 3. This is hopefully going to pronounce it correctly. I also have not apologized for the fact that I do not speak Gaelic, Celtic, none of that, and I've been doing my best. So this is the Derrig Dhu, or the vampire of Ireland. There are many stories of vampirism in Ireland. However, the tragic legend of lost love and a female vampire, the Derrig Dhu, is one of the most riveting. It's also interesting because you don't typically get a lot of female vampire stories. The Derrig Dhu, which translates to red bloodsucker, a little on the nose, was driven to her malice when she was to marry a chieftain as a young girl. When the chieftain turned out to be much less than pleasant, he's an asshole.
They always are.
They always are. Chieftains. She became depressed beyond hope. After allowing the life to drain out of her, she returned to the world with vengeance on her mind. Finding her husband surrounded by women before her body was even cold. Asshole. The Derrig
sounds about right.
pounced, sucking not only the air from his lungs, but every ounce of blood from his body. That's excellent retribution. Once she got the taste for blood, she became thirstier for more, feasting on the blood of many men under the shadow of darkness.
They better watch out.
We're also reading Twilight, so I'm close affinity to vampires right now. The whole series. Okay.
That was such a horny book for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a horny book for a lot of people. It's mostly ridiculous now, but we do enjoy it. Something about it that's
it's so ridiculous. Yeah.
Number 2, the Hellfire Club. This is mostly what Zach Bagans focuses on in that episode that I was talking about. A notoriously haunted Dublin spot, which I was in Dublin, didn't go. What the hell? One of the most haunted locations in Ireland. It's a product of one of the best spooky Irish ghost stories. It's Dublin's Hellfire Club. Perched within the Dublin Mountains, the Hellfire Club was built on a Neolithic passage tomb back in 1725. The building was said to house rich lords and noblemen who called themselves the Hellfire Club. They would practice immoral acts, like all the usual suspects. Drink, drugs, sex, and gambling, and hold black masses to summon the devil. Super chill. Those who visit today talk of an innately oppressive atmosphere as soon as you approach, as well as dark and demonic manifestations surrounding the area. And number 1, which I will give even a little bit more detail on, is the Banshee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, the Banshee was a harbinger of death. I didn't know how to pronounce harbinger, and I wasn't entirely sure what it meant. It means a person or thing that announces or signals the approach of another. I don't know if you knew that. Anyways, banshee, harbinger of death, announcing the loss or future loss of a loved one, usually through her shrieking cry.
Gross.
The description of the banshee varies from one account to the next, but she is almost always a hooded woman on a hill with long, straggly hair whipping in the wind. An ear-splitting scream escapes her lips, foreshadowing the imminent death of a loved one or whoever is unfortunate enough to hear it. So, I have a couple little banshee stories.
Can we rate 5 through 1?
No, because you haven't heard the banshee stories yet. Are they spooky enough?
I've heard enough.
No, we're not doing it. You have to wait till you hear all of the banshee.
Okay.
So, this is directly off Reddit. This is Caught Her Eyes.
Caught her eyes?
Yeah,
Ooh.
but it is Caught Her Eyes.
Her eyes.
Yeah,
I like it.
Spelled E-Y-E-Z. E-Y-E-Z.
Mm.
I remember my mother telling me about the folklore of a banshee. I remember a few pieces of info. 3 knocks meant death. If you heard a banshee wail, someone was going to die in your family. If you saw a woman in a tree combing her hair, look away and leave. If you see her in the same tree, it says ask she drops her comb. That doesn't make any sense. But basically, if she drops her comb, you'll die in the next week. If you looked her in the eyes or disturbed her, she'd kill you. The facts tend to differ. I know these from my own family, but my friends had slightly different pieces of knowledge. My mother ended up nursing, so while she was quick to recollect a good many tales, she was equally as quick to dismiss them. I remember her telling me that they were probably used for a few reasons. 1, to keep children from straying into strange places, fields with cattle in them, to dissuade young men from meeting up with any random young women, and a farmer's myth used as a psychological scarecrow to keep people off their property. Somebody here, bland_skittles_. I heard the banshee when my granny died. 3 knocks on the window. Banshees don't just scream. I'm from the west of Ireland for reference. Also, there are certain family surnames that can hear the banshee. So there are, I guess, certain maybe older surnames or older Irish families that are more prone to hearing the scream. On this Reddit thread, this person was specifically asking for banshee stories. And somebody said that there is folklore tales of the banshee in something called the Schools Collection in the National Folklore Collection. So I can give you that link for the social media. And what was really neat about this link is that it is actually like diary entries of people from back in the day. It's like in their actual handwriting talking about banshee stories. So I thought that was pretty neat. So here I just have 3 and then I'm done with my stuff. And then you can tell me what you think is scariest and we can wrap it up. So, and these are quick. So here's one. 2 men were returning from a visit one night when they saw a banshee sitting on a wall combing her hair. The banshee disappeared when they came near, but she left her comb on the wall. One of the men took her comb. In the middle of the night, the banshee came to the window and asked the man for her comb. The man handed out the comb on a spade. The banshee, thinking the spade was the man's hand, broke it in 2. She was not happy that he took her comb. Here's another. After Paul Moran, no idea who that is, but this is relevant to this person who wrote this entry. So after Paul Moran was drowned, R.I.P., in the year 1929, the banshee was heard every night in Low Hackett and seen on a few occasions. One night, Hattie Lally went out visiting, and when he was returning home, he heard the banshee crying. And didn't he see her near the spot where Paul Moran was drowned, and she was washing clothes? Every now and then she would stop and look around. A lot of people heard her. Sometimes she would go over the water and then duck down again. And then this is the last one. 2 men were out hunting in Truro. two men were out hunting in Tyrol once, and it was night when they were about to return home. As they were on their way home, one of the men saw a little woman dressed in red sitting outside. He thought it was someone that was trying to frighten them, and he only started to laugh. He jumped and put his arms around the little woman, and as he did so, she roared, and as quick as lightning gave him a slap on the face. The two men got very frightened and ran off as fast as their legs could carry them until they reached their home. They never went hunting there again. So, yeah, and those three were, like, as I mentioned, like actual old people from however long ago. Their cursive writing that I guess the school's collection of national folklore has, like, put together and is accessible online. I'm sorry.
Oh,
my arm hit.
This is so weird. It's just like it's a certain thing that many people see, like a very specific thing related to another very specific thing, death, that people see. I think it's so cool. And I've never heard of it before, and that it runs in families. Also checks out, it ties to, like, maybe genetically there's a certain structure in the brain that is more likely to, like, allowing you to receive these messages.
Yeah,
I love it.
100%.
I love it.
So that's what I had. So go ahead and you tell me, of the five, what you think is scariest.
As you were talking, I wrote down a few little comments
By all means.
for each. So number 5, what was the name of number 5? Doulahan?
Something like that. One moment, please. I stupidly pushed this off to the side, thinking we were done. What was I doing?
Why would you do that?
I don't. Fucked up. The Doulahan.
Doulahan. So I retitled it The Goulahan.
Okay.
Because I just wrote no. No.
No, I agree.
That was my full comment.
I could tell by your face. You think I don't know you?
Goulahan? No. Number 4. What was the name?
The Ghosts of Leap
of
Castle.
I called it The Ghosts of Sheep Castle.
I mean, makes sense.
I liked it. It was good. It was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine.
There's some creepy things. The 11-year-old falling from the battlements is something that kind of freaked me out.
Yeah. I was really just hyper-fixated on the fact that out of all things in the world, they related it to the size of a sheep. So I don't know.
You really narrowed in on that, hey?
Yeah, I can't get over it. So Ghosts of Sheep Castle. Number 3 was Derrick-do.
Yep.
I said, don't.
Okay.
You go, girl.
You're not buying any of this, is what you're telling me.
No.
Okay.
I liked that story, and I was like, you go, girl. Number 2.
Don't fuck with a woman.
Yeah,
not a good idea.
Hellfire Club.
Mm-hmm.
Hellfire Flub. Didn't sell me. I'm sorry. I'm just over here giggling as I write this shit down.
I think I'd have to do more research into the Hellfire Club to really be able to make a statement. But what I take from it, from the little bit that I saw when I was watching Zach Bagans, and I was distracted while I was watching it, and this little write up here, it just seems like a bunch of rich, stupid men doing debauchery and trying to summon the devil because they thought it was edgy. You know, like,
it's a flub.
Get out of here.
It's a flub.
Yeah.
The Banshee.
Mm-hmm.
I renamed the Banshee because they wear a sheet and it's flowing, and this is what I picture. Okay. I don't know if you know about this or not, but the Mothman, that's what that reminded me of. Because 2 reasons. The imagery, the harbinger of, like, death or, like, warnings or, like, whatever. Very similar to what I do know of the Mothman. But also, like, it's a very specific thing that is seen by many different people in the same kind of, like, circumstances. And it's got brings a lot of validity to it and a lot of, like, lore because it's so common, right? And that's what it's just like, maybe that's the version of the Banshee is the Mothman. Who knows? I'm going to go down a fucking rabbit hole on Reddit about the Banshees after this and the Mothman, because that was the creepiest. And that is the most like legit it checks out, and it's checking all the boxes.
Yeah. I knew that you were going to choose Banshee because Banshee is the creepiest. And that's also why I did more research on it, because that's the creepiest and the most interesting. Let's be honest.
Because you know me the most.
And that's just the thing that I found interesting, or the most interesting. I do think, like, if I were to go to Ireland, I would, if I was going to prioritize, I would go to Leap Castle. I feel like
Sheep Castle?
Sheep Castle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like Sheep Castle it was number 4 on the list. That should have been number.
That should be. Yeah,
3.
That should have been.
It should have been number 3, because I understand why they did Hellfire Club as number 2, because it's like people know it, it's popular. I would also go to the Hellfire Club and just see what's up. So yeah. So that's what I had today. There's lots of folklore, lots of mythology, from Ireland. I could go.
I
could
guarantee
go forever.
you, I am going to have a bad dream about the Banshee.
Yeah.
Like it's just gonna. And I'm home alone right now, so I'm totally creeped out. So I'm gonna have to go outside and like just get some air.
That could be anxiety.
It could be that I've had 3 coffees while we're sitting here.
Oh, I'd love another cup of coffee. I don't have my coffee
get one.
maker here, so it's like I have to brew a whole thing of coffee if I want more coffee.
Oh, frig, with a drip?
Yep. Old school.
Oh, the olden days.
But there's a balance, because my coffee's made for me every morning. I wake up, there's coffee there when I'm at Carly's parents' house. So can I really complain? Yes, I can.
No, but you are.
I want an afternoon coffee.
You're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm going to go apply deodorant and maybe change my shirt.
And avoid the Banshee at all costs.
Yeah. Try not to shit out my ass because I'm scared.
I have a few things.
Okay.
First thing. Last episode, if anyone's paying close enough attention, I did mention that I went on a ghost walk and that I would talk about it today. But there was a lot of cool stuff with Halloween and, Irish stuff. And we needed to focus on that. And also, as I was about to prepare to just give you some details about the ghost walk and where I did it, it said that the place that we went was one of the most haunted places in the province of Manitoba where I live. So I feel like we need to do a whole episode on that.
That deserves... What is the place?
I'm sorry. I wrote it down, and then Carly is the one who actually got us to go, which is crazy because she gets so scared, but she really wanted to do it. It is called Fort Lorraine in Portage la Prairie, Manitoba.
Okay. That'll be an upcoming epi.
It will. And at that time, I'll tell you about how I talk to ghosts. So just in case anyone's like, hey, where's the information about how Rachel talked to ghosts? It's coming.
It's coming. Also,
take a chill pill.
Rachel and Carly bought a house.
Yeah, we bought a house. So
that's big shit.
Yeah. It didn't feel haunted.
That's why I brought it up. I was like, how did it feel? How did it feel?
It felt homey. It felt normal. It felt comfortable.
Felt right. Good.
It felt like if there was any spirits there, they're probably like benevolent, kind spirits.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about it, but yeah, it's very exciting. It's a busy time, but that's life. We're gonna have some property finally, which is very, very exciting.
Can't wait.
We're gonna find out.
Can we do the Ouija board in your backyard?
We don't do Ouija boards. Oh. My sister called me on the phone mid-workday and said, I don't know if it's you who does the Instagram or if it's Kim. And it's Kim. She's like, she's talking about doing a Ouija board. She's like, Rachel, do not do a Ouija board. She's like, you're going to open it up. And when you open it up, more dark comes than good. Do not do it. She
went off in the DMs. I felt it.
She was concerned. I said, don't even worry. Carly and I do not fuck with Ouija boards. So whatever Kim does is on her, but like we don't fuck with Ouija boards, and we won't. You don't, and we won't, Kim.
My dad rarely gets serious about anything, but I asked about a Ouija board or something once, and he just got so serious. He was like, "We had one of those when I was a kid."
I had one when I was a kid.
And yeah, he said my dad was so upset he threw it outside the house and said we're never to touch it again. So I need to like dig into that story more because he got so serious. He was just like, "We're never touching that again."
Is your family Christian? Like your parents? Yeah, I wonder if
they were.
I wonder if the dad was just like, "This is unholy."
No, they said that too many bad things started happening when they were playing with it.
Okay,
like too many deaths. Yeah,
I think it'd be cute as hell if we got your little dad on this podcast. Like literally, if he was like another little screen beside you, or if he was with you.
Don't even fuck. He can't open the computer and figure it out.
You'd
and
have
like
to be
the
there with him.
FaceTime and like it would be like he would be up like this and
I don't
he
know.
would be on mute half the time.
No one would know what he was saying because he's got a thick accent.
It was hard enough just to record him at the kitchen table. And my mom, the giggles, she couldn't get through it. So anyway, if people want to hear, they can go back to Family, Friends, and Followers episode, whatever.
Yeah.
And listen to my dad.
Yeah. Or they can go find him in New Brunswick, right?
Nova Scotia.
You can go all the way to Nova Scotia, Canada, and ask for, what's your dad's first name?
Gerald.
Ask for Gerald.
Don't do that. Leave my parents alone.
Okay. All right. Well, there was one other small thing.
Oh, what was it?
I was just thinking about how you're talking about the Banshee and Mothman, and have you seen the movie Practical Magic?
Girl, do I see that movie? I've seen that movie 85 fucking thousand times. It's a comfort movie.
Yeah, we watch it.
I love it.
We always watch it this time of year. We were going to have a big...
and the coconut. We need to do that.
Yeah. So the thing is that Carly was going to actually do a whole Practical Magic themed party. But it's going to have to wait till next year because with the moving, it's not going to work, unfortunately. But what this made me think of was the beetle. The little beetle that you hear chirping.
Yes.
Or that only just that family hears chirping.
Yeah.
And then it means that their partner is going to die.
No.
Because there's like a curse. That's what I was thinking of. That's a great movie. Won't you be my wife? I quote him a lot, more than I should. You're always on my mind.
My mind. You're always on my mind. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Those are our two things.
I'm going to watch that tonight now.
Oh, we should watch it
Thank you
this week. So welcome.
Thank you for the install.
I think it's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on there somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, friend.
Thank you for this special Halloween episode. And I'm going to hopefully stop sweating soon because I'm so nervous about seeing something in this house now.
I hope everybody has a wonderful Halloween. Gives out lots of candy.
Halloween.
Safe Halloween.
Yep.
No spooky dookie unless you're looking for spooky dookie, and then I hope it finds you.
And don't do Ouija boards.
Do not do Ouija boards.
Light a fire.
Bye.